organisation called SUS, which stands for Scottish Union of Supported Employment. I'm actually seconded to APT. So APT is a Scottish Government initiative, and it's almost been going for 4 years now. So what we do is we support employers, organisations with training, advocacy, consultancy in the world of inclusion, and more specifically looking at disability. And what we're trying to do is reduce the disability employment gap. So like I said, we're a Scottish Government initiative, so all of our work is fully funded for anyone who comes on board. And we are, so SUS is the main delivery partner, but we're a partnership of 49 organisations who are all thought leaders and experts in the field of disability. And this is our mission. We would love to see the disability employment gap half by 2038. And by disability, we also include those with long-term health conditions. So we're looking at people who may still be suffering from long COVID, who've got MSK, arthritis, any of those kind of conditions, somebody who might have dyslexia, so we even include like learning disabilities or learning difficulties, and really supporting organisations to become more inclusive. And if you look at that stat there, it says 81% of people without a disability in employment and 45% of people with a disability in employment. So it's a huge gap that we're trying to shorten. And the way that we shorten this is really looking at how do we attract, recruit, retain, transition into our workplace. And we look at work culture and work environment. So what we offer really is fully funded solutions that will make you as employers forward thinking, confident and certain in your hiring choices. Ultimately creating workplaces that are diverse, inclusive and fair. So when we're looking at attract and recruit, what we tend to look at is inclusive employment at digital recruitment. So everything these days is online. So what we do is we work with our Experience Network, which is a team of people who have varying disabilities. So we'll have someone who's got who's blind, someone who has a hearing loss, someone who's got cerebral palsy, someone who's neurodivergent. So our the scope of our team is quite wide, and somebody who's got mental health, as well. So and they will come and they look at your website and they do web accessibility. So they'll see, do all the tabs work on your website? Do all the pictures have alt text? Have the videos got audio description as well as captions on them? Because perhaps you're playing a video and you might have someone who's got hearing and sight loss, so captions alone won't cut it for them. So it's like, how do we get the best for these people? So we look at your website to see how accessible it is, but we also look at digital recruitment. How does that look for someone who may have a disability, who's neurodivergent, who's got sight loss, and we work with someone who's got a braille reader and a sensory reader as well. And once you've been through our digital recruitment process, what you get is a set of action points and recommendations. Now, these are not mandatory. We don't hold you to do them. They're best practice, and we work through them with you to implement as well with access to our web developers as well. People really love it because it's really precise. So they might come to you and say, on page 4 of your coding line 2, there's a gap, and that's what's stopping people from moving forward. And people only know what you know. So you might think your website is amazing. You might have people that have come through it, but actually you might not have had somebody to give you feedback who uses a screen reader to say, it's not working, it's not accessible for them. So we do a thorough check and you'll get all of our guidance and notes back on it. So that's a huge piece of our work, is looking at digital recruitment. It's a really tailored process as well. So it's led by you and what your business requirements are. Then we'll look at retention. So it's huge. I guess a lot of people, we ask at the very beginning, how many disabled people do you employ? And only public sector are very good at giving this answer because they have to report on this. Private sector and third sector are not so good at it. So we look at how do we empower our workforce to be able to disclose that that they have a disability, and two, that we support them to retain them in employment, so that we ensure your workplace is inclusive and supportive, and that you can provide reasonable adjustments and offer working arrangements and creating an inclusive culture, and support you in able to get access to work as well. So, and this is a very handheld approach as much as you want hand holding. So some people just want quick fire tips, and some people actually want us to support them all the way through the process. And that can also look at being disability confident and working through the DWP disability confident status up the 3 levels. We also look at performance management, so to support our disabled employees in their roles. You as employers should ensure that their performance management processes are inclusive, and this can include setting realistic and achievable goals, providing regular feedback and support, which I'm sure you're all doing already, and offering flexible working arrangements where necessary. And this, I guess, is where we really got in touch with Lindsay and Amy. A lot of our work is around training and development. So we offer bespoke training courses, and like Amy said, Lindsay came on our, it was either inclusive employers or unconscious bias. So we offer loads of training courses, right from looking at unconscious bias to mental health first aid, looking at stigma, looking at men's mental health, and they can be delivered online or in person. So we work right from the borders up to Orkney. So even though we're based north of Glasgow, we cover the whole of Scotland as well. And so we offer training and development opportunities to help support disabled employees in their roles, and managers as well. I think it's really important. A lot of people who attend our courses come because they have a vested interest. Perhaps they have autism, so they want to know what's best practice. But really what we want to do is involve those who are in HR, those who are line managers, but more importantly, those who are in senior management and leadership roles, because if you get buy-in from the top, you can really change and improve work culture and working environment, which is a big part of our work and where we look at as well. So work culture and work environment means that we're creating an inclusive work culture environment, which is essential in supporting our disabled employees and promoting diversity and inclusion. So it's creating that openness, culture and respect, providing accessible facilities and equipment, and promoting diversity and inclusion through company policies and practices. So we do look at policy work and how your policies might be worded, and if you need support in changing or adapting any of your policies, perhaps putting them into easy read in a way that is more accessible for more people. We also do accessibility audits or sensory mapping, you might have heard it called, where we can come into a workplace and we support you to be able to make your work environment more accessible as well. Really, that's a huge chunk of our work. All of this is, I guess, is a whistle-stop tour. All of our work that we do is fully funded. So if you came on board, this is what the process would look like. We do an introduction to our organisation and to our delivery partners. We go through a planning process with yourself as well. And that's really looking at what we'll do is an employer's assessment, where we look at those key areas of attract, recruit, retain, transitions, work culture and work environment. We almost give you a scoring method, and we recognise that that is only how it is at a moment in time, and that's only one person's point of view and not company-wide as well. So we'll try and make it as broad as possible when we're covering your employer's assessment. Once we get your assessment, that is really, once it's finished, you get your report, and that's really where we can tailor your needs one-to-one. It's great if some organisations come back to us and say, we know we've got staff who are neurodivergent, so we really want to put our hiring managers on neurodiversity awareness training. But we'll do more than that. We could even do neurodiversity toolkit, which is bespoke to your organisation and how that would look. And perhaps Bill might suggest neurodiversity might not be the first thing that you need. You might need to look at stigma in your workplace. Some organisations are really great at creating
groups for organisations, for their employees. So they might have, for example, an LGBT group which people can join, but you might find that people don't join it because there's still a stigma. And these groups only really work if they're promoted and they've got allies, and you can draw case studies. And people are still really wary of doing that because of the stigma attached to being disabled, or to belonging to a particular group. So it's really about reducing the stigma, and we support you in building cases as well to take to your senior management team and say why this is really important and why you should be working on this and why you should be joining all of the training. It's huge. You could get from your employer's assessment 2 action points or 102 action points, really depends on the conversation. So we work with you to draw out 2 or 3 which are really important to you, and we'll work with you on those. And like I said, it's really bespoke. So right now I'm working with a really big organisation, and they're looking at their apprentices, and one of their apprentices is got dyslexia, but it's really supporting that one individual. So it's really niche as well to stay in that workplace and not drop out of their apprenticeship. Yes, they have support from Skills Development Scotland, that's really important, but they also, that employer's got one-to-one support from our delivery partner on how to support that person with dyslexia in the workplace. So it's more than just going to Skills Development Scotland and being given advice. We're working with you one-to-one. We'll be there in your office. We're working with that young person, as much or as little as you want us to be. And once we've delivered it, we're really hot on evaluation. Like I said, we are funded by Scottish Government, so they like us to evaluate all the time. So we come back to you all the time for feedback. And once we've had our evaluations, if you feel like you want to do more work with us, then we'll do that. I guess that's kind of, I know I spoke a lot of my conversations and presentations, sorry, are more conversations than just me presenting. So that was a whistle-stop tour. If anyone's got any questions, or I'm more than happy to take them.
I have one to get the
Sure.
ball rolling. When you were speaking about the kind of digital recruitment side of things and the work you do in that space, is there kind of things that point out as the most common pitfalls for employers? I'm just thinking because we get a lot of kind of problems with recruitment and various ways that to recruit. So it'd be interesting to know if there's any sort of key things that you find on that.
Yeah, I think you could all go back to your websites I guess everyone's doing online recruitment, and even really simple things cause huge problems to people, not just those but who are disabled. But it could be that when you're filling in your criteria, it disappears. So people don't know or can't, if say if you've got sight loss, and it will say put in your name, but your name disappears when you put it in, or where it's asking you to put in your name is in the text box itself, so they won't know what they're filling in. So that's a huge pitfall for people. Things like to check if you're a robot, that doesn't always work for someone who's a screen reader. It'll show up as an elephant, or they'll say tick the elephant, so they won't know what boxes are not allowing them to be a robot. Really things not giving people another option. So a lot of people might say, once you've filled in your form and say if you've got reasonable adjustments for your interview, let us know. But where employers, what a lot of employers don't say is, if you need reasonable adjustments to fill in your recruitment process, let us know and we'll offer an alternative format. So reasonable adjustments should really start at the point of recruitment and attracting potential employees, not when you're trying to get them to interview. So really thinking right back to the beginning.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
Yeah, and not having like perhaps even an email address, because it might be, you might use a third party to post and host your jobs. So not even giving them like an email address to get in contact with your organisation, even if it's an info at box, so that if they have got a reasonable adjustment, perhaps it's can they do, excuse me, just send in their CV and a covering letter rather than filling out all of their boxes. Perhaps they've got dyslexia and that's really difficult for them to do. So it's about
making those tweaks to your organisations. I know as organisations we are really time poor, and often when we're recruiting, we're only recruiting for a week, possibly 2 weeks at a time. So our window is really small. So we want to get people through that process as quick as possible. But that's what we look at. It can be if you're hosting on a third party site, we work with them. And a lot of our third parties, it's funny, like I'll give you an example. We work with a local authority who are hosting on a third party, and the third party will go back to them and say, we can't do that. But we've really put the case forward, yes, you can, because employers are paying for it to be hosted on a third party site, so they can do it. And we are working with a third party site to improve. And so they're not just improving for that one employer, they're improving for everybody. They might not be able to make those improvements today or even this year, you know, but we'll support that third party site to be able to improve. And a lot of people, once they've posted on third party job sites, they might only be there, they might have done that 2 or 3 years ago. So that site as well needs to be updated. So that's mainly the big pitfalls with digital recruitment.
Thank you. And do we have any other questions? If not, maybe just a good one to close us off, Amrit, would be,
Sure.
I know from a lot of the conversations that we have that this would be really valuable to members. So how would they be best to start that journey and start looking at these things? Or, you know, who would they contact to work with someone on something specific?
I think in the first instance, if you've got anybody in your organisation that's really struggling with disability, and I use disability really widely, so think of even learning difficulties, learning disabilities, autism, anyone who's on the neurodiverse spectrum, neurodivergent spectrum, anyone who's suffering with a long-term health condition, would to get in touch with us. We don't always, like I said, we're 49 delivery partners, so I might not have the answer. In fact, I probably don't, but I'll always signpost you to the right person. I can send out this presentation and almost like a proposal in inverted commas of what we can do for your organisation. So feel free to get in touch. We really support as well with doing things like a pulse survey for your organisation. So that's something that you can look at right at the very beginning. So that is a questionnaire that when you... Sorry, I was trying to stop sharing, but I can't do it. Here we go. I think that might help. There we are. When you are starting your journey at the very, very beginning, just to gather thoughts on your employees. So you might think you're really inclusive as an employee, and we all try our best, but there's things that could be missing. So we could support you at the beginning of your journey to do a pulse survey with your employees. And that can be as wide as you want it. Yes, we look at disability, that's our speciality. But if we don't want your employees to get survey fatigue, so we'll make it as wide as possible so you can capture all of the protected characteristics as well. So we'd work with you to do that.
Thank you, Amrit. And we've got a message in the chat as well from Stuart, so I can put you two in touch via email afterwards, if that's all right.
That'd be great, thank you.
No worries. So I think that brings us to a close if we've no more questions. So thank you very much, Amrit.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I know I did a lot of talking. I promise if I meet you again, I'll let you guys get a word in. We never ever force our service on anybody, because I always feel that when I was talking to Lindsay and Amy, it's got to come from you. And if I'm always I'm always in contact with people, but if I feel like if we force it on anybody, it never really works. And organisations really do need buy-in from their hiring managers and from senior management team and their leadership team, as well as their service users and staff that are on the ground. So we can do light touch support, and I'm all for that as well. And I'm happy for anyone to get in touch. So please just get in touch with Amy and she'll pass out my email details to everybody. I'm happy to speak to you all. I hope to speak to you all soon as well.
Perfect. Thank you very
So
much.
thank you. Well, hope you
Thanks,
got 10
everyone.
minutes of your morning back.
Thanks, everyone. I'll see you all
Thanks,
soon.
Amy.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.